Welcome back.
What's up, people?
So basically, we're very excited to have this video today because it was our first viewing of a very certain movie. But please, make sure if you go see movies that you are being safe, like we were. We were very safe, in addition to eating dinner. But anyway, this is my dad.
That's my kid. And we are
Comic and Other Cons. So we saw Shang-Chi last night.
Oh man, did we?
It was so good.
Should we just go ahead and give the rating right now? It's
Sure.
That good?
Sure.
Look, it's a big old Comic and Other Cons, 2 thumbs up. I got my foot up, everything. It was amazing. It was fucking amazing.
It did a lot of justice to, and these are just our opinions. We are not Asian, so we're not going to say, from that perspective, but from what we've seen, the positive feedback from the Asian community is that it did a lot of justice for them in terms of representation. But I also feel like, as somebody who has been a fan of kung fu movies or martial arts movies, it did a lot of justice to that. And I had a feeling that Marvel was probably going to do a good job with that, because I think they did a really good job with Mulan. And Mulan had a lot of essence of like martial arts style movies in the way that they did some of the fight scenes in the live action Mulan. So I felt really good seeing that it was almost done in the same kind of thought process or understanding of what this is culturally for this group of people.
They did an amazing homage to Jackie Chan with the whole bus sequence.
Mm-hmm.
It was brilliant. That and the scaffolding fight.
Yeah.
Those two, Jackie Chan was smiling, I'm sure.
So why don't we get into it? Dad, why don't you start with some of the things that you really loved about this movie?
Well, I'm going to start with who I thought stole the movie. And to me, the 2 characters that stole the movie, every scene they were in, was Awkwafina and Ben Kingsley.
That was a weird way you just counted.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Why I was like, yeah, I gave the thumbs up. So anyway, it's fucking 2 people. So I still ended up with 2 people, god damn it.
Okay.
So yeah, they were comedic gold every scene they were in. So those were the show stealers for me. And they were very welcome show stealers at that. And what I liked was they gave Awkwafina range of acting, and she was not just a goofy comedic sidekick. She was that, but they showed range and good serious acting for her. She did a little fighting, she did with a little bow and arrow, and I appreciated that she wasn't purely there for a chuckle. Plenty of chuckles, mind you, and some good ones, but they showed a bit of range for her. When she needed to be serious, she was serious. I loved their back and forth as to whether or not they were an item. And they weren't an item, like a spoken item, but we always knew they were an item. They were an item that just kept going like that, just kept going. And by the time we get to the end, they were like that.
Yeah, but it's still unspoken. Like,
I know,
but I'm saying, could very much be that they're like, we're just really good friends who's been through this incredible
that
adventure.
Head on the shoulder at the end.
I'm not saying that they don't have feelings for each other, but that doesn't mean that they have officially talked about it and decided that they are anything.
Oh, I know. But I'm saying, look, the who was it? The grandmother.
You have to have a discussion to be an item. You can't just be one.
The grandmother was like, when the fuck y'all get married? So I'm like, fuck, what you do? Who you bullshit? I'm just saying, it wasn't me. They haven't said anything on screen or to each other, right? But I'm saying, look, let's face it, there ain't no There's no chance that they're not a thing, whether they're aware of it or not. They are an item, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it, you know. But yeah, they were the big scene stealers in the movie, and I loved it. And Ben King, oh, they gave him. I was shocked to see him in this. Pleasantly shocked. That fucking Planet of the Apes thing he did. Oh God. He was worth every penny. In fact, I think they probably owe him some money. He was worth every penny. He was so good. With his little friend. What was his friend name again?
Morris.
Morris, the pig dog or whatever it was. That was just genius.
It was neither a pig nor a dog. Fun fact for everybody watching this. You'll see it when you see it. But
that's what Awkwafina called it. So I got to run with that.
It was just a creature from Talo.
So what stood out for you in this kid?
I think for me, it had to be the sister. I appreciated like her struggle and her skill level, and that she taught herself all of that. She was not trained. I do feel bad that both of them kind of separated in the way that they did. I think obviously Shang-Chi figured like when he did what he did that he couldn't go back. And I think now that they've reconnected, you know, he'll have the opportunity to really explain like why he felt like he couldn't come back, even though he did actually go through with what he, you know, was tasked to as a 14-year-old child.
Would you say that, talking about the sister and her struggle, would you say that is even in today's standards relevant to a lot of girls, that they are pushed to the background and the boy is pushed into the foreground, and about like men being able to go and do a lot of things, and women still moving to get into the foreground? Because that was pretty much a lot of her story, is that she was not allowed through tradition to train, what she had to teach herself. Think about how many women from a generation or two were in the same boat. They had to quietly do stuff in the background, and they give suggestions and stuff, and it's not taken seriously. And then the men repeat the same suggestions, and they go, "That's a great idea, Tad." You know, what the hell? Do you think that little life lesson in what she went through is relevant today? I mean, as a woman, you think that's relevant today?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things that happen in kind of like a modern day sense. Like I think the first female Navy SEAL, like it just happened recently, right. But there are plenty of women who have wanted to be Navy SEALs and probably could have gotten through the training, and we were just never given the opportunity to. Right. I know when I went to enlist, I couldn't be an Army Ranger. There was no option for me because I wanted, if I joined the military, I mean, I did. When I joined, I wanted to be a sniper. I said, if I'm going to do this, like, I feel like this would be, I always liked doing it in paintball, and I just liked the appeal of it and you know, everything that went into it. But I have a vagina. And so I couldn't do it. I was not allowed to. It was men only. And even if I decided to join the Navy, I would have wanted to potentially be a SEAL. Like I would have at least liked the opportunity to, if I really couldn't get through it, which we'll never know. But if I really couldn't get through the training, then that's different. But the difference is you allowed me the chance to train and see if I could stand it, versus you didn't and just said, because you're a woman, we probably feel like you can't do it. But I mean, that takes precedent in like a lot of other areas, not just necessarily the military. But when I lived in China and I was studying abroad over there, there were a lot of things in terms of my friends who are over there culturally, where they would talk about how lucky they are, this generation, to be able to do some of the things that their mothers could not do, or even just the previous kind of cultural ties of their wanting to be, we have to make sure we have a son because of the one child rule.
Right.
That I don't think it exists anymore in China, but they used to have a one child rule. It was part of population control. But because of how their cultural ties were, so many of the families wanted to have a son because then they could pass everything on and
Right.
things like that. So, I mean, even though I'm sure he loved both of his children,
Right.
he was looking for Shang-Chi to really take over the mantle and not so much his daughter. So
because of tradition, he
Right.
was bound to tradition. I mean,
he was old. Like it's not
Right.
like he came from modern day. He was he was 1,000 years old or so, give or take. And that's what he knew. So even though he had, lived through modern times and seen probably most of the modern changes of the world, he still was like, but this is what I know. So,
Right.
he came from that. It's not like he was born in modern times and was just still being as limiting with what his daughter was able to or allowed to do. It's just that's where he came from. So
Agreed.
But I do feel like to some extent he recognized his daughter's abilities when they all kind of reconnected because
Right.
he stole their shit. And he did not discount all that she could do. He still was like, I want Shang-Chi to do all of these things, but he didn't discount her immediately and her skills and what she could do. So, I mean, there's a tiny bit of growth, but
I would dare to suspect that it wasn't as if the father was completely unaware that the daughter was self-training. Because to be at his level, that's not something that could have slipped by him. But again, because
and since he always knew where they were, I'm
Right,
sure he knew
right.
about her
Oh
fight.
yeah, he knew. Oh, I'm sure he knew about her business, like the business that she had. She was running her own thing and Fight Club and all that stuff. But I'm sure as young, he was always aware of her capability. But because of the tradition and the tool set he had from living so long, it still always had to be the son. But the daughter was kicking much ass. Oh man.
So that stuck out to me. I think also what stuck out to me was Ta Lo, just in general. That was Wakanda for this population.
Yes.
They had the dragon scales, which was something that was very strong in terms of them being able to build all their weapons, their shields, pretty much everything out of. So they had the dragon scales to be able to do that. They were always constantly training. Everybody was equal in their ability to train, just like in Wakanda. There was no, the men will do this because the women in Wakanda will fuck you up probably more than the men. Like the Dora Milaje, they don't play.
Just ask John Boy.
So
they fucked it up.
So I feel like Ta Lo is the equivalent of that for this population. The vibranium was the dragon scales, and like I said, everybody was training equally. They're young, old alike. There wasn't anybody that was not able to learn or to do any of these things. You got out of it what you put into it, essentially. And it was hidden away from the world until Wakanda got a Starbucks and maybe joined the Olympics and then, opened the floodgates. But it was closed off to the world as well, where it was covered by a shield and it just looked like any other safari grassland plains in Africa. You had to know where exactly to, fly low, and thinking you're going to hit trees, you'll fly into Wakanda. Here, it was protected by the bamboo forest, and you had to know when it opened up and where to turn and how to do this. And it was a constant maze. So I feel like this was their Wakanda. And I only hope that if they do like Latin America, like a Latin American character, if that character happens to have any ties to like Aztec or Incan like tribes or anything like that, that Mayan. They also have, that they also have like a Wakanda of their own, which I mean would be perfect because everybody was always trying to hunt, where those communities were for gold and things like that. So I almost feel like they have a storyline just out of actual history in itself, to have in the ruins of some ancient city there actually be a thriving civilization with all this very modernized technology. And I feel like, maybe just, don't take this the wrong way, y'all, I feel like white people just really had the super soldier serum, but that was really it. And like Hydra, but Hydra didn't have an entire civilization and such modern technology, or at least not as modern as they thought they did. I think their modern was the super soldier serum, and Russia had its
Because
own, and
everything else
Germany
was
had
hidden.
its own. There was the African-American soldier, and then Cap. And I just kind of feel like, for the most part, that's really all that they had. But everybody else had like an entire fucking city of like.
But everything else was hidden, so they thought that they were the top of everything.
No, I know, but I'm saying I really don't think, it's just unfortunate, because I think based off of what we at least have seen, they only had the super soldier serum. Like, that seems to be what their like large contribution.
I would like to see, in the vein that you're talking about, is that one of these ethnicities, that because we have Thor and Asgard, we have gods, right? We should see gods from another ethnicity.
Oh, we will in the Eternals.
And in the MCU, they're really not considered gods.
No, but I mean,
in the MCU,
they're godlike enough where,
right.
And it's a mixed bunch. So there's white people. We have the one black guy from Atlanta, Brian something, and then we got Nanjiani with the finger guns that are actually guns.
I meant in the Marvel Comics world, there are gods from every race of everybody. Everybody has their own gods that they believe in, or whatever. I'd like to see, like you said, the Aztecs, Incans, Mayans. I'd like to see somebody else come out with, well, some of their characters come from their gods, from their deities. So that, because again, the only gods we have right now, because we don't have Hercules yet, so we don't have Olympus. We only have Asgard. Asgardians is the only gods right now in the MCU. So I said it would be
great. What are the Eternals considered if they are not gods? What are they?
They're not gods. They are immortals. They're just immortals. They're not gods. They're not in the MCU. In the Marvel Comics, they're not considered gods. They are considered.
But Thor and Loki can die. Can the Eternals die? If
yeah, I believe they can.
So we're not saying immortals in the literal sense of the word immortal. That's just the category that they are like.
They fall under what would be considered immortals, because they've lived for thousands and thousands. Their lifespan is thousands of years. Right, they're thousands and thousands of years old as the Eternals.
And yes, for everyone, that was a dig at the Inhumans.
So, but yeah, I would love to see something that comes from Mayan legend of their gods come out. Like, so I'm saying the only thing that we have that we call gods in the MCU right now is Asgardians. That's the only thing that we have right now. So it would be nice to see that come from another ethnicity.
What else?
What did you think about? And we can put this into two things: the fighting scenes and the visual effects.
I'll start with the fighting scenes. Okay. I mean, it was there. I mean, obviously there were very good fighting scenes, and I like that everybody that participated. From the research I did, it looks like there really weren't that many stunt doubles. For the most part, everybody did their own fighting scenes. Like Simu Liu did all of his for the most part, and he was talking about all the training that he had to do and the amount of like flexibility he had to gain to be able to be in this movie and do all of the fight scenes. Because the scene on the bus where he does the split kick, he didn't have that flexibility prior to being in the MCU. So he talked about that. And pretty much most of the other fighters were in their own scenes. There really weren't many, if any, stunt doubles. So I appreciate that, because I feel like sometimes it's always a shock sometimes when I've done research on some of the other movies and I've discovered like that so-and-so had a stunt double. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, it's always nice.
Yeah, because
when
they're only
everybody
going to
does-
allow them to do so much before
Right.
talent, high dollar talent. They don't want you to go out and get yourself killed doing stuff that you really can't do. So
Right. No,
But
but
they-
I mean, like, for example, if it would have been nice if, in the same way that we love seeing like people of Asian descent do martial arts movies, and for the most part they are doing the fight scenes, for Black Widow, for Scarlett Johansson to have learned more of the, you know, fighting style that her character had, to do more of
Right.
those scenes, because she had a stunt double for pretty much a majority of her fight scenes. She didn't do as many as I think we all thought maybe she did. And that's not a dig at anybody that has a stunt double. And I'm not talking about the super duper fight scenes like with Thor flying and jumping and leaping at something, or like Hulk, you know, and what his fight scenes are. But I mean, like the hand-to-hand combat, it's nice when it's them versus the stunt
Right.
double. And I think we got most of that in this movie, where it was pretty much, from all the research I did, they learned all of their fight scenes on their own, and they didn't have any stunt doubles really. So that was nice. The visual effects, I think, for me, were more impressive with Talo. Like, in terms of the grand scheme of things, obviously I'm sure there were more visual effects throughout, but I feel like most of it was in Talo because of the nature of what Talo is. And so I think the dragon, when it appeared from under the water, and then whatever the fuck that monster was behind the dragon scale gate,
we'll just call that the darkness.
those were all brilliantly designed. I mean, the details of it, the color of the hair on the dragon, you know, was appropriate with all the lighting. Like, you could see it, you could still see all of the scales. Anytime they actually fired off any of the weapons with the dragon scales or used them, the visual effect with that, where when it hit or struck an item or a person, it glowed almost in the same way that Black Panther's suit could absorb some of that, and every time he took a hit, he glowed. Now, they didn't redirect some of that. It wasn't like they were absorbing energy the same way that the vibranium was for his suit, but it still had kind of similar like ideas of, we hit something and it lit up so that you knew that it had, you know, struck something. All those little demon monster things, I mean, those were all very brilliantly designed. I think the visual effects for pretty much everything in this movie were very well done and very carefully done, so that it didn't look overly fake. Like, we knew it was going to be more fantasy and fantastical, but it didn't look fake. Like, there's a fine line between it being fantastical and it being fake. So
Agreed. I found all the fight scenes to be very good. There was very good choreography. Especially with the opening fight between who ultimately became Shang and his sister's mother and father. He thought he was going to go there and like whoop her ass and get her out the way and then go get all the secrets, and she ended up whooping his ass and then turned his ass out. So
and she
and that was
took control of the rings in a way that he never would have thought possible at the end. And
right.
then she
did and she never actually
had the almost the
on,
Kamehameha moment where she almost Dragon Ball Z'd his ass.
The other thing was that they borrowed from a lot of things. Like, apparently they are all closetized airbenders.
Yes.
And it was brought, as Marvel often does, they pay off everything that you see earlier. They always pay it off. When at the end, we see Shang using his mother's foot sweep and then bringing up the wind and everything and the same way that the aunt told him, no, open your hand, not the closed fist. That was, so
it went from the Fire Nation to the Air Nation in a matter of minutes.
They paid it all off. All the fight
basically-
scenes were very good.
So basically, Disney snatched from its competitors in the 90s, Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, because
Yes.
Dragon Ball Z and Avatar.
Yeah. So I found all the fight scenes were good.
I do like that they actually did mention the Dragon Ball Z term.
Yes.
But it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, that's the beauty of it, is that they, they got to self-represent, mind you. So, and they had Aquafina bring that up. So, I thought the fighting on the scaffolding was great. It was brilliant. Yes. And the effect that they use when Aquafina's hanging off the bamboo that's breaking, it was beautiful. It was perfect. The sister was just fucking people up left and right. So the sister had a lot of rage, and she didn't keep her rage pent in. Her rage was at the forefront, and you could see that in her style of fighting. Shang's had rage, but his rage was in the background, and it was very closetized and compartmentalized. He had to reach a breaking point to let his rage out. But the sister,
and then he had his Black Panther moment when he put his arms out and walked over to his dad and screamed.
Yes. So, but I loved all the fighting. It was good, which ties right into the visual effects. I appreciated that a lot of the visual effects, if you go back and look at a lot of martial arts movies that involve supernatural creatures and beings, the movie paid an incredible homage to all of those movies that always had those types of mythical creatures and everything that they did in the true effects of actually having those things there, as opposed to everything was visual effects. A lot of them were very practical effects. That's one of the things I liked about the bus fighting sequence. And although I'm sure what we'll find is a lot of that was also very clever visual effects, because of course it was, but a lot of the fight scenes were very well choreographed in there, and the visual effects enhanced it for the things that it had to. All the creatures at the
giant lion things.
Yes, at the, what was the name of the land that they were at?
Talo.
All the creatures that were there all looked very real for the setting, for what they needed them to be, as real as the setting.
Like the giant rhinos and I mean, I'm just going to keep going back to that, because I just,
as you said, they didn't look cheap. They didn't look. You accepted them as real. Which,
speaking of the giant lions, do you remember when Dad and his people invaded and that one guy hit the lion and the lion was like, "The fuck out of here!
Fuck out of here!"
That was I was like, What were you do? What did you think was gonna happen? When you went to do that, what did you think?
Well, first, the goddamn thing is this big. The thing's this big, right? You're looking at the thing and it's that big, and you're gonna go and hit it. What could possibly be the outcome of a thing that stands at least 15 feet? At least. The thing's skull was this, it was so big that it could have literally swooped out and just eaten the guy in one bite. It could have just the whole body. What did you think was good? That was good. That was, again, the stupidity of people and thinking, hey, I got this, I'm in charge. And the guy's like, get the fuck out of here.
That's also kind of like when there's a fight and everybody's like getting their ass whooped and you're the last one in and you somehow think you're going to do something different than all the other 28 people who just got their asses handed to them.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that was always one of the things that you would appreciate when you would watch martial arts movies, is you as the last guy and you saw everybody fucked up, bones, the hands sticking up out their head, they're all fucked up, and you're still gonna charge that guy thinking somehow,
like, maybe they tired him out, I'm gonna get him.
You're the absolute worst and the bottom rung of everybody. That's a fact, but yet you think somehow, I know this motherfucker's tired, I know I could do it. Right up until you realize the second you ran over, and you're the one who gets fucked up worse. Because then you take like 50 punches and kicks and all that, and then you're like, fuck was I thinking?
It's too late now. Yeah, no, it was very, very good. Very well done. The whole movie. Just
what did
and it was very nice because I think that was our second, yeah, since the pandemic, that was our second Marvel movie.
Yeah, Black Widow and this.
But I think it was brilliant in its own right. It was
Yeah. Wong is making bank. Wong is everywhere. Everywhere you turn around, Wong is there. Wong making money. And I'm there for that. I'm so happy. Now Wong got more than $1.25. He don't need to act strange for no money. He's rolling in shit.
He could go get that tuna on rye now.
He can go get that now. So I'm happy to see Wong being represented. And I know because the success of this movie will start to see two things. We're going to see Shang-Chi at Comic-Con everywhere. All of the characters, we're going to see them. Right. We're going to see all the characters at Comic-Cons and everything. And also, we're going to start seeing Shang-Chi get the guest star now. Because Marvel's not, they're going to strike while the iron is hot and expect him to show up
the dragon
in other
scale
movies.
Is hot?
Yes. They expect to see him in other Marvel properties, even if just for a quick scene or something, or they give him an assignment, like in Endgame, when everybody was reporting in, at some point expect to see Shang-Chi reporting in and get a task to do now. So yeah, and what did you think of the two end scenes? It's probably too late in this thing to tell everybody this is a spoiler.
I put it in the title of the actual video.
Okay,
if you can't read, that's your fault.
Yeah. All right. People can't read.
So I'll go with the last one at the actual end of the credits, as opposed to the one that's like halfway through the credits or at the end of the movie or something. So I thought that one was funny because they're trying to, like talk about their adventure with their two friends at the bar, and then Wong comes in and at first
Hotel California.
Right, and they don't believe him, or they don't believe either of them, and then Wong shows up, and then they're like, "Oh no, that was like a thing."
And they don't throw it in their face. That's the beautiful part. That's what makes it work. Is they're just like, we'll just text you later. We'll do this again.
Yes. And so then he's explaining to them, that like their life is going to change and etc. And they're talking about the rings, and that's when we see Bruce as Bruce instead of as Professor Hulk, and then Captain Marvel. We'll come back.
That's bringing up a whole conversation.
We'll come back to that.
Because Bruce looked old as shit and his arm was still kind of fucked up. He's still in a sling.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to Bruce. And Captain Marvel was there, and her hair grew back out. So I guess she only cut it, for whatever reason. So anyway, I think the best part of that, aside from them kind of learning that like, basically you're an Avenger now, welcome, was also that they did the karaoke with Wong. Like they somehow, you should probably go home and get some rest. And they're like, yeah, and then they're
Wong is a party boy.
Right. They're all singing.
He's a party boy.
And doing the karaoke together. So I think the other end credit scene was the sister, right? That was so that was when we found out that the sister had started basically to grow the empire she had, but she's now using her father's compound. And I appreciate that basically she made it what it was not before. It's equal. There are men and women. They're training, regardless of if it ends up being a crime thing or if it turns out to be like we're training future good guys of the world. I don't really care. I appreciated that even though she took over and made that her own, she made it in such a way where it was everybody's going to commit crimes equally because we're all going to be trained and nobody is going to be less or more. it's the women get trained, the men get trained, and if you get your ass beat, it don't have shit to do with you lost to a girl, or you
Right.
just fucking lost.
Did you appreciate how fast after they didn't want to listen to him when they were originally fighting against them, and then those creatures came out and sucked the soul out of one of their baddest bad guys?
The guy
They
with
were
the
like,
mask, the one
yeah,
that looked, yeah,
yeah. We should work together with you all. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. They they
Right.
changed that shit real fast.
Right.
So yes.
So I appreciate those. Obviously, they're trying to figure out where the 10 rings come from, because it seems like Bruce doesn't know anything about them, and Captain Marvel, she's, saying that that's not any alien tech she's ever seen.
Yeah, no Kree. She's never seen anything like it.
Right. And Wong didn't know anything about it, which I think, with Wong being not only a wizard, but also being Asian, I think they were banking that we covered all of our bases, as it were, in the, like, Bruce is the, the organic biochemistry, like that's his jam. We have the alien who's been to many universes and planets, Captain Marvel, and then we have the sorcerer who also happens to be Asian, who may know something about this just in his own culture. Because I think Wong's Chinese.
I like that, and I like that much like Thor's original hammer or the new axe, that science things just didn't explain it. They couldn't necessarily understand it. Like, it wasn't like they go, oh, we know where these rings are from, we know what it's made of, but they didn't know.
Mhm.
When you went to all of the cosmic entity, went to Bruce, the scientist, with the Wong, the magician, and none of them knew where it had come from. And it's good, because that way it wasn't just simplified and dismissed. It was something that when you think, well, these are some of the greatest goddamn minds in the MCU, and Captain Marvel, she's been all over the galaxy. She's never seen that, don't know. So I appreciate that they gave them the same light as the tech from Wakanda. Nobody could comprehend it, and like, hey, how the hell have you people been living in, how have you existed? We didn't know anything about you, and yet your tech is better than ours.
Right. We just
So
thought
it
you
was
were
like
some
that,
third world
no
country
one
in Africa. Right.
No one knew what it was, other than it's emitting a beacon. And the question, of course, is to whom?
Right.
So that at some point will be addressed. At some point, whatever or whomever that beacon was calling out to is going to show up. So
hopefully
that will be fascinating. I would love for somehow it to tie in to the Eternals and the Celestials.
Let's talk about that, because there was a monster in the monsters that were in the city scene when she's explaining the history of whatever, when the aunt is explaining the history, and it's all the things on the wall. Those monsters look like the thing that was in the Eternals trailer that had Angela, that had the
Deviants.
Angelina Jolie. Yeah. And well, this one was talking to her. I don't know if it's the same deviants as the ones that were coming out of the water.
Well, some have voice and some don't,
Oh, okay.
But yeah, at some point we will take everything, and it all ties to a central point at somewhere. Everything would ultimately be related somewhere, but spread out enough that it takes you time to bring it all in somewhere.
Was the big bad guy that was in that trailer, who was that in the Eternal?
With Angelina Jolie?
No, when that was
a Celestial.
Okay,
the big red thing.
It looked like Galactus, so I was just
Galactus has a face that was just a Celestial.
Right. No, that's what I was like. I was like, are we? Yeah. Was that a hint? Okay.
That was when the guy said, well, why didn't you all get involved in anything with humanity? And she said, because we were told not to unless it involved deviants. And he's like, well, who told you to? And then she looked at him like, how do you not remember this? And then that's why they showed the Celestial, because it's the Celestials that created them, that told them not to get involved in anything unless it involved deviants. Not to get on to the Celestials,
Eternal.
the Eternals too much. What will be interesting to find out is, were any of them
Snapped away, right?
Yes. Because that we got to understand them. But that's a whole. We don't want to get into that right now. So, but yes, I like both end sequences. I do personally think that the daughter is the father's daughter, and I think she's following in the father's steps. She always has followed in the father's steps. When she had her own little thing and had the fight club going and her own little underworld stuff going, I think that she is simply taking over the father's, doing exactly what you said. To your point, it has now been leveled. The playing field is level. So there's no more men up here, women. Well, women ain't nowhere. Everybody is equal. Either you can kick somebody's ass or you can't, man or woman. There's no more of that. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that they even showed artwork around the compound that showed women,
right,
and different flowers and things that were not there before. So that was the "we're under new management"
right.
banner. And I love that, because she remembers when she couldn't openly train, and she was not going to see that happen on the big scale, because she didn't let that happen on her little thing that she was running. So I appreciate that. And I think at some point in the future that will cause both conflict, but also resolve for certain things between her and Shang. That I think that there will be times when he will need things to complete a mission, and he will have to go to the sister, but he can't nag the sister too much because the sister's on the underworld. She's doing her dirt, whatever. And he's like, hey, you just can't be fucking everything up and this and that. He's got to look the other way. The question is, at what point can he not look the other way?
And I think,
at some point,
and I don't know that
the sister's gonna,
right.
she's gonna be able to get something for him to help him in a mission that he has to do. So
right. And I have a feeling that Xiaoling isn't gonna get to that point. I think she's seen enough of it with her dad that I feel like her stuff will not get to the point where her dad's was. Like, I think she's hoping that that's where she'll kind of stay in that realm where it's just more of kind of the equality factor. But I don't know that she's going to get to a point or a level, because of what she witnessed with her dad and everything that went down with her dad. I don't know that she'll ever, this is my opinion, get to a point where Xiaoling has to basically like fight her brother in the sense of like, you got to stop doing this. I feel like her little fight, not her little, because it's obviously going to be a bigger empire, but I feel like that she's going to change the 10 rings in what it was before to something a little bit different. And I feel like she has,
I agree.
She has enough good in her that I don't know that she'll go down that path. And I also think she's going to keep Shang-Chi in her life in the same way that he plans to keep her in his, where hopefully they'll be able to keep each other in check on when it seems like one's going too far left or right, as it were.
I agree with you, but I still think that they will be going down two different paths.
Oh yeah. I just don't,
I don't think she will be at the level her father was.
Right. I don't think she'll be an extreme evil or bad force.
No. But she will still have ties to the underworld. It's just the Fight Club's going to be real big. It's going to be Mortal Kombat Fight Club on the compound on the island there. But I still think she's going to still do those things with equality. As you said, I think that's her biggest thing is inclusivity. I think at times they will bump heads in their point of view about things. But I don't think that there's like hatred or I'm going to kill you, or I don't think there's going to be anything like that. But I think that they will be very different in their philosophy of things because of the way that their lives were. So, but I loved it. I loved every minute of everything. How about when they were out on the scaffolding and dudes attacking Aquafina and she starts singing Hotel California, thinking that was going to work to throw him off and he would just give up, like she said she had to do with the guy when she was in the car. She got into some trouble. And
I
she
mean,
just
it did
started
for like a
singing.
second. It did for like a second. He was just kind
But
of
he
like,
was trying to fuck her up.
what?
So yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. So that was very good. That's very, because I didn't expect it. I didn't see it before it happened. And then she just started singing Hotel California. And I'm sure that's why it lasted for a second, because the villain's like, fuck is she doing? What the hell? He had to look for a second. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And then I got to kill this. But yeah, that was pretty good. That was very good. So you think the guy who owned that car, I don't know whether it was a Lamborghini, whatever it was, he might have noticed the mileage on that car and that there was a lot of rubber missing off those tires when he got it back, because they were joyriding like fuck, man. So
I mean, it doesn't matter because the next day they didn't make it to work because their bus got cut in half. So
it's true. So
no
yeah. So, but yeah, it was an enjoyable 2 hours and change. For me, there was never anything where it dragged or where I was bored or where I was wondering what time it was. It was always entertaining. It was artful. It was insightful, and there was plenty of action. And nothing overpowered anything. For the genre that it was in, we expected there to be plenty of hand-to-hand big battles and mythical creatures, and we got all of that. But we also got some good heartfelt moments. We got good compassionate moments, good learning moments. We got all of those things. So it wasn't just, explosions every 5 seconds and this and that, fighting and all kinds of shit. It was a good mixture of all those things. And for me, that's what made everything. And Ben Kingsley, that's all I got to say.
Well, either way, yeah.
One last thing. I wished somehow he could have put those shades on and turned around and said they'll never see it coming. Oh man, that would have been so good. But the Planet of the Apes thing made up for all of that. It really did. God damn, that was funny. Go ahead, kid.
Well, I think that was a very thorough kind of review and our thoughts on it. Yep. Either way, at the end of the day, go see the movie. Like, that's it. I mean, I don't know.
Please do.
There's really, just go see it. It was great.
Not that they ever went anywhere, but Marvel is back.
And no, it's not going to be on Disney Plus. So for all the people who I'm like, oh, when are they gonna? It's not. They did that with Black Widow. Get your ass
up and go to the movie theater.
They did that with Black Widow only in the sense of the timing, right. But otherwise, just go.
But be safe. Bring a mask with you.
That most of the people in the theaters were wearing masks, and so everybody was being cautious, especially since the theater, while it probably pre-pandemic, if this movie had come out, it would have been super packed and full. It was relatively full in the theater, even with everything that was going on, and everybody was being safe. They had their masks off when they were eating, masks on when they weren't, or what have you. We didn't notice a lot of people using phones in the theater, which was a nice change of pace because there's always like one or two assholes who do anyway. But yeah, please go see the movie. It's phenomenal. It is something I'm gonna go see again. I'm trying to figure out exactly when, but it is definitely something that I am going to go see.
And you can take the whole family. You can other than Deadpool, there has not been a MCU movie that you can't take the whole family to, and this is no exception.
Right.
Even with all the fighting, even with all the
scattered curse words and the fight scenes, it's still definitely something. Go see it with your kids.
Yes.
Go have it as a date night. Go see it with your friends. Like, just go see the movie. Get out of the house. Go be social after basically 18 months of us not really being able to do that. Like, it's such a nice feeling being back in the movie theater to see movies.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us. Like and subscribe as always.
Hit that notification bell.
I don't know where the fuck that button is, but it's somewhere at the bottom of your screen.
It'll say notification.
Right. We put everything for where we went in the description box. So you'll see, the link and information for TEDS where we had where we had dinner before the movie. And I know that Dad's always really good about showing a watch. So Dad, what's the featured watch for today's episode?
All right. 52 millimeter Invicta Gladiator. Look at that.
And that was
I
the
know
watch that
those-
he wore when we went to go see the movie.
Yes, those panties are getting moist. I know. Oye, como va. Look at that. Yummy all night. More Invicta goodies.
So we will put the link for anything Invicta, both the Invicta website as well as Shop HQ specifically for Invicta in the description box. And
Value pay, bitches.
go check them out. If there's anything of interest, we'll also put AMC just because that's the theaters near us. But otherwise, feel free to, like I said, like and subscribe and visit our Instagram page. And our Instagram page is Comic and Other Cons. And we do occasionally go live when we're out. And, we did last night when we were at the movies. We did a live video right in front of the theater outside before we walked in. We were going to do another one inside the space of the common area of the theater, but there weren't any posters or any of the like large captive things for Shang-Chi, which was kind of odd because as big a movie as we pretty much knew this was, Marvel's
Man, I was about to hit on that poster thing. I was about to hit on that.
Marvel's usually really good about having like something, and they still had a lot of Black Widow stuff up, but they didn't have anything for Shang-Chi outside of the Dolby Digital,
Dolby Cinema.
the Dolby Cinema theater. They did outside of IMAX, but nothing outside of the Dolby Cinema theater, which was unfortunate. So we didn't get to go live in the common area, and we wanted to go live inside of the theater, but by the time we finally got in there, the movie was about to start, and so we just decided, that we would just wait and do this video and then post it. So.
The other thing is, I know some of you saying, "Hey, that old motherfucker look different right now." Yeah, it's because I shave. I'm Black and I got that skin. It's fucked up. I can't shave a lot, so this was one of the times I did shave, and it'll all grow back, and then I look like old Bingo Rasta again. So don't worry, I'll get back to where you remember me. But yes, I shaved that and the old motherfucker's money, so I throw them off the trail every so often. So there you go.
So thank you for joining us today. And we will see you for our next video, which will be the 5th episode of What If, which involves our 2 characters. So Thor is in this, and then this is also where we see Gamora, who is in Thanos's armor, and it looks like they're partnering, along with several other characters. Jafar's version of Doctor Strange is back. Star-Lord, but T'Challa's Star-Lord is back. So there's several characters that had episodes previously that are in this. And so it'll be nice to see, because we both do cosplay as 2 of the characters that are going to be on this episode. So I anticipate that we'll probably have a lot more to say just in general about our 2 favorite characters.
That's right.
And I think maybe we'll make the thumbnail for that one just us in cosplay.
Done.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
I'm Dad.
And I'm Kid.
And we are
Comic and Other Cons. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, whatever is left, because it is definitely Sunday evening. But I know some of you have Labor Day Monday off, so please stay safe and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.
Bye.